Have you ever wondered if one simple habit, something that looks Catholic and even holy, could actually be the very trap that silences heaven's voice in your life? Padre Pio, a man chosen by God who carried the wounds of Christ in his own body, warned us about this danger with tears in his eyes. He knew that millions of souls with good intentions were falling into the enemy's net without realizing it. Think about it. How many times have you prayed in the morning, hoping for peace, but instead felt emptiness? How many times have you repeated words with your lips while your heart remained cold, distracted, distant? Padre Pio was clear. This is not prayer, this is noise. And God does not respond to noise. He revealed that a certain Catholic habit, repeated every day, can become a weapon against your soul, opening doors for confusion and closing the gates of grace. This message is not superstition, it is a spiritual alarm. If even a saint like Padre Pio saw this danger in his time, imagine how much more urgent it is in our distracted world today. He revealed that the enemy loves disguise. What looks like devotion can hide a chain that binds your spirit, keeping you weak, tired, and without the fire of true prayer. That's why in this video we will uncover exactly what Padre Pio taught, what this habit really is, and most importantly, how you can free yourself from it to finally feel the presence of God again. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to discover can change your mornings, your prayer, and your eternal destiny. Before we continue, give this video a like and subscribe, not for me, but so that this urgent message of Padre Pio can reach more souls in danger today. Every morning, before you even open your eyes, a battle begins. Padre Pio knew this well. The first seconds of the day are the most dangerous. Why? Because the soul is unguarded, still half asleep, and the enemy never rests. He strikes in silence, using habits that look harmless, even Catholic, to weaken your spirit. Imagine this scene. A man wakes up, makes the sign of the cross quickly, mutters a prayer with no attention, and immediately reaches for his phone. He thinks he has done his duty, but in truth, heaven received nothing. His first act of the day was not to raise his soul to God, but to let distraction reign. Padre Pio called this one of the greatest victories of the enemy. To steal the first word of the day, to turn it into emptiness. He used to say, prayer must rise like fire at dawn, or it dies like cold ashes. And yet, millions of Catholics wake up every morning with ashes instead of flame. The enemy knows that if he can capture your first minutes, he can weaken your entire day. This is why Padre Pio's spiritual advice always pointed to vigilance from the very moment of waking up. The invisible war of the mornings is not about noise, but about silence, not the silence of God, but the silence of the soul that forgets him. This silence is deadly. Padre Pio cried because he saw how many good people were losing the most sacred moment, the beginning of the day, to distraction, routine, and false devotion. Comment below, Padre Pio, open my eyes, so that your first word today is already a prayer asking for clarity. Padre Pio never spoke in riddles when it came to saving souls. His warnings were sharp, sometimes painful, because he saw what many refused to admit. Catholics praying daily, but with hearts far away from God. To him, prayer without soul was nothing but an empty echo. He once said, "The prayer that does not come from the heart does not pass the ceiling." Strong words, but true. Many believed they were fulfilling their duty, yet Padre Pio discerned the coldness behind their lips. They prayed as a routine, not as a living dialogue with heaven. He would even rebuke people in confession, telling them that prayer without faith, without attention, without love, not only failed to attract grace, but actually opened doors to the enemy. The devil delights in empty prayers because they create the illusion of devotion while leaving the soul unprotected. Padre Pio compared this to a house that looks locked from the outside, but has all its windows open. To others it seems secure, but inside it is completely vulnerable. For him, praying without the heart was like offering a corpse instead of a living sacrifice to God. That is why he urged his spiritual children to pray each prayer as if it were the first and the last of their lives. Every word, he said, could save or condemn the soul. Comment below. Padre Pio, protect my faith. If you want your prayers to be alive, not cold. Here lies the most painful part of Padre Pio's warning. The very habit that appears Catholic and holy may actually be a trap. He spoke about the danger of prayer said only by routine. How many of us wake up, rush through the sign of the cross, whisper a few words, and then check our phones, thinking we have done our duty? That act, if empty, is not prayer. It is noise. Padre Pio said it was like offering God plastic flowers. They look beautiful from a distance, but they have no life, no fragrance. The enemy hides precisely in such routines, things that appear devout but bind the soul in chains of lifeless repetition. The danger is subtle but deadly. The believer feels protected, convinced that grace covers them, while in reality their heart is drifting further from God. Padre Pio often said, prayer without attention is a body without a soul. Hard truth, but it shakes us awake. This is why Padre Pio insisted that one heartfelt prayer, even a short one, has more power than 100 empty ones. Better a single flame that burns than a mountain of ashes. Behind this disguised devotion lies the enemy's perfect trap, making you think you are praying when in fact you are only muttering words. And in that false sense of safety, the soul is most vulnerable. Comment now. Padre Pio, open my eyes, so that your prayers may never again be empty routine. Padre Pio wept over a truth few dared to confront. Countless prayers were turning into nothing more than spiritual noise. He taught that prayer said without faith, without love, and without attention is like speaking to someone while staring at the floor. Your words never reach their heart. In the same way, lifeless prayers never reach heaven. In the confessional, Padre Pio often rebuked the faithful who admitted that their prayers were cold and mechanical. He warned that such prayers not only fail to console God, but also harm the soul that utters them. Why? Because they give the illusion of protection while leaving the soul exposed. It is like walking under a broken umbrella in the middle of a storm. You think you are safe, but you are soaking wet. The enemy celebrates when prayer becomes noise. Empty prayer exhausts the lips but starves the heart. Churches may echo with voices, yet Padre Pio saw that many were poor in spirit. He would say, prayer without soul is like perfume without fragrance. It may look like devotion, but it brings no delight to heaven. The danger is even greater than silence, because false prayer convinces the faithful that they are devout, while their soul drifts further away from God. This is the perfect deception. The devil does not need to silence prayer, only to empty it. Write in the comments, Padre Pio, guide my prayer to declare that you want your words to become fire, not noise. Among the enemy's most powerful weapons, Padre Pio identified one that destroys prayer from within: distraction. He warned that the devil does not always silence prayer. He only fills it with wandering thoughts until it loses its power. How many times do we begin to pray, and suddenly our mind drifts to bills, worries, or the phone buzzing beside us? Padre Pio said, distraction is like tearing up a letter before it reaches its destination. The intention is there, but the message never arrives. He taught that God deserves the first and best of our thoughts, not the leftovers. A distracted prayer, he warned, has no wings to fly to heaven. Strong words, but he knew how deadly distraction could be. The devil knows that stealing your focus in the first moments of the day is enough to weaken you all day long. This is why Padre Pio recommended spiritual discipline. Pause, breathe, make the sign of the cross slowly and reverently, and then begin your prayer. Even if short, it must be full of heart. Better one prayer said with love than 100 muttered half asleep. In our modern world filled with constant notifications and noise, distraction is more dangerous than ever. The enemy no longer has to tempt us with sins. He simply tempts us with endless interruptions, and so the soul begins the day already defeated. Comment below. Padre Pio, protect my faith. If you want to defeat distraction and give God the first thought of your morning. After exposing the danger of empty, distracted prayer, Padre Pio always gave a path of hope. He was not a saint of despair, but of awakening. He insisted that the first act of the day should be an act of living faith. Even if short, it must be real. He taught, when you open your eyes, do not reach for your phone, do not rush into noise. Instead, begin with the sign of the cross, slowly, reverently, as if sealing your soul in the blood of Christ. Padre Pio said that a prayer made with the whole heart, even a single "Lord, guide me today," has more value than hours of distracted repetition. He encouraged his spiritual children to pray as though they were standing before Jesus himself, because they truly were. For Padre Pio, prayer was not a duty, it was an encounter. He wanted Catholics to understand that God listens not to polished words, but to burning hearts. Imagine waking up tomorrow and instead of muttering a cold prayer, you whisper with love, "Padre Pio, intercede for me. Jesus, I give you my day." That one sincere offering could change your entire morning and your soul's eternity. The enemy cannot chain a heart on fire. This is why Padre Pio fought against routine and pointed us back to authenticity. Prayer is not about how much you say, but how much you love. Write in the comments, "Padre Pio, guide my prayer," to ask him to help you begin every morning with fire, not ashes. Padre Pio's advice was not theory. Countless testimonies prove the power of his warning. Many who confessed to him came broken, empty, repeating prayers without life. Yet after obeying his counsel, slowing down, praying with attention, giving God their first thought, they experienced transformation. One woman told Padre Pio that for years she prayed daily but felt no peace. He told her gently but firmly, "You pray with your lips, not with your heart." She took his words to heart. From that day, each morning she made just one short but sincere prayer. Within weeks, she felt God's presence again. Her testimony spread, and others followed her example. Another man, burdened with sin, said Padre Pio's advice to begin with the sign of the cross saved him. That one act, done consciously, awakened his soul each morning. He said, "It was as if I had been blind for years, and suddenly my eyes opened." Stories like these echo what Padre Pio always taught. Prayer is not measured by length, but by love. And when done with attention, it moves heaven. Those who listened to his warning found strength in temptation, peace in suffering, and light in dark days. Padre Pio's disciples often testified that he transformed their prayer life. Many swore that after applying his teaching, they no longer felt alone in the mornings. They felt truly guided by heaven. Comment now, "Padre Pio, awaken my soul." If you want to live this same transformation in your mornings. Padre Pio often reminded the faithful that the first word of the day shapes the entire soul's journey. He insisted that the very first breath, the very first thought after waking, should belong to God. Why? Because the first word sets the direction toward heaven or toward the world. Think about it. If the first thing you do is reach for your phone, your mind fills with noise, news, and distractions. But if your first word is Jesus, you begin the day in the light. Padre Pio taught that the soul is most open at dawn, and whatever fills it first becomes the seed for the rest of the day. He compared it to planting a seed in fresh soil. If the seed is holy, the day bears fruit. If the seed is distraction, the harvest is emptiness. This is why he urged, let the first act of the morning be an act of love. A single word of faith has the power to invite grace. A distracted word has the power to invite weakness. Padre Pio cried because so many souls wasted their first moments, trading intimacy with God for trivial things. The first word can be the difference between a day lived in strength or in defeat, between a soul that walks in light or in darkness. Padre Pio wanted us to never underestimate the spiritual power of beginnings. Comment below, Padre Pio, be my first word, to consecrate your mornings to God. Padre Pio's words echo even louder today than in his lifetime. He lived in an era of hardship, but he foresaw an age of distraction and spiritual blindness, and we are living in it now. He warned that in a world filled with constant noise, the danger of false devotion would only grow. Today, with phones, social media, endless distractions, his warning is prophetic. The enemy no longer needs to tempt us with visible sins. He only needs to steal our attention. And once the soul is distracted, it is defenseless. Padre Pio revealed that routine prayer without heart would spread like a disease. He said it would become one of the devil's most effective weapons in the modern age, the appearance of faith without its power. Is that not what we see today? Churches with words, but hearts elsewhere. Voices repeating prayers, but eyes fixed on the screen. This was Padre Pio's prophecy, that the enemy would disguise emptiness as devotion, and many would not notice. His tears were not for atheists, but for Catholics who thought they were safe while slowly drifting into darkness. He saw our times when faith would be tested not by persecution alone, but by distraction, routine, and spiritual apathy. His message is not just advice, it is a warning that the Church and the faithful must wake up before it is too late. Write in the comments, Padre Pio, awaken my soul, if you want to respond to his prophetic call today. Padre Pio taught that the greatest weapon against the enemy's trap is not long prayers or endless words, but love and awareness. He warned that the devil trembles when a soul begins the day fully awake, with one sincere act of love for God. He insisted that prayer must be alive, like fire. The moment you wake up, you have a choice, ashes or flame. The devil wants ashes, empty words, distracted rituals, false devotion. But God longs for flame, the whisper of a child who says, "Father, I love you." Padre Pio himself began each morning in silence, slowly making the sign of the cross with reverence, then offering his heart to Christ. This was his shield, his weapon, his strength. He urged his followers, do not start your day without arming your soul, because the enemy attacks early, but God defends quickly when the heart cries out with love. The final weapon is vigilance. Every day is a battlefield, and every morning is the first strike. Padre Pio's advice remains urgent. Pray with the heart. Do not let your words die on your lips. Comment below, Padre Pio, keep my heart awake, to seal this teaching in your soul. Now you understand why Padre Pio cried when he saw Catholics praying without heart. He knew that the most dangerous trap of the enemy is not open sin, but false devotion. A prayer that looks holy but is empty inside. A Catholic habit that becomes the devil's weapon. But you also learned his solution. Begin the day with fire, not ashes. One sincere act of love, one reverent sign of the cross, one true prayer from the heart. That is enough to open heaven and disarm hell. Padre Pio's prophetic words are not just history, they are for us today. In a world filled with distractions, false comforts, and spiritual emptiness, his tears are a warning, but also a call to awakening. If you desire to start living this change now, take this moment. Whisper, Jesus, I give you my day. That small prayer born from love could transform not only your morning, but your eternity. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because every week we bring you more of Padre Pio's powerful teachings and Catholic prophecies. Comment below with, I choose fire, not ashes, so we can pray together for stronger mornings. And now, continue this journey with us. Watch the video on Padre Pio's hidden prophecy about the Rosary. It will open your eyes even more. The link is right here in the description. Remember, you are not alone. Padre Pio intercedes for you, and God is waiting for your first word tomorrow morning. Make it a word of love. God bless you.